Was that Dr. Claw?
I was trying.
Okay, cool.
I can't keep it up today.
So if you're Dr. Claw, am I Gadget?
You'd have to be Gadget.
Okay, and then our guest speaker would have to be Penny.
Oh yeah.
Because that makes sense because
I
like
suppose.
she was the actual person who did all the crime solving, and Anne's like super cool, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Didn't Ann actually do one of our speaking engagements
Yeah.
for root cause analysis?
What about the dog though? Isn't there a little dog on that show? Brain. No,
Man, you are pulling stuff out. I don't even remember.
I think it was the dog Brain and Penny, and they were the real.
They were like the backbone.
The real problem crime solvers. Inspector Gadget was just kind of goofy, like.
Yeah, he got himself into trouble, but somehow saved the day.
And Dr. Claw, he had a cat.
Yeah.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I was gonna try to do a whole intro, but I couldn't.
That's
couldn't
all
keep
right.
it going.
My voice is weak today too. So, but what is the real podcast on?
Oh, this is the Evil Safety Dudes.
Oh well, that's the right voice.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
Evil Safety Dudes.
Yeah.
It's us.
Can you do evil safety dudes in that voice?
The evil safety dude.
Well, no, like how we do it together in our thing.
Oh, but do it in that voice?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Together
I'll just do it regular.
Okay. So together we are the
Evil safety dudes. All right, yeah,
There you go.
I gotta get a more evil voice for that.
You need
Yeah.
an evil voice.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that's the real show, Evil Safety Dudes. We're about all things occupational health and safety.
Not die at work, man.
Yeah, how not to die at work.
That's
from
the plan.
Being sucked into a machine to being shot by an active killer.
Falling off a building,
Any and all things safety related.
all that fun stuff.
That's what we talk about on this show. And I am joined by Mr. AJ Hanscom. And what he is many things. He is an SSH. And he's also, and I never remember what that stands for.
The SSH?
Yeah.
We are the
super.
What was the one you came up with the hair? Super spiffy hair?
There you go.
He
has super spiffy hair, and that makes him an expert on safety.
That's right.
And is also an OSHA authorized outreach instructor. And for the construction and general industry on both those accounts.
We did get both.
But highlighting the general industry, and I guess it matters in construction too, because today's topics is going to be ergonomics and behavioral-based safety.
Dude, you can really screw up your ergonomics.
So that ergonomics is big.
And I'm joined in the IBC podcast fort studio blanket house
Tabernacle.
with Mr. Aaron Icino. He's our occupational safety and health nurse. I think that's important to highlight going into ergonomics today.
Yes,
having a fundamental understanding of the human body.
A professional stalker.
A professional stalker.
See, most stalkers aren't getting paid.
Okay.
I get paid
You
to
were
stare
paid to stalk.
creepily at people while they work
There you go.
and look at their ergonomics.
It's important.
And I don't know if creepily is a word, but
I mean,
I'm going with it.
If you're good at something, you should get paid to do it.
Yeah, I'm a professional stalker. That's what I did as a private investigator too, professional stalker.
You're a professional stalker.
Because I got paid.
But that's actually,
Yeah. I had a license to stalk.
Private investigator.
Yeah.
Literally is just
We did it
personal
for
stalker.
ergonomics and work comp fraud because, I can't work, my back's hurt,
Yeah.
and then I'm stalking them and I'm watching them roof their house.
What the heck did they do?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
He's just like in his garage, just deadlifting a car. And you're like, all right.
Yep.
That was definitely not an activity you should be doing.
So, what's new, man? It's been a minute since we've recorded and got behind the mics.
Well, I had my birthday a little bit ago. That was a good time. A lot of barbecuing, way too much eating, and a lot of laying around. It was absolutely fabulous.
Well, that's cool.
I had a great time. How about you? What have you been up
Happy birthday.
to? Oh, yeah.
I'm getting ready for competition season for our gym.
You're going to start entering your prize-winning tomatoes?
No, we got a kickboxing competition, then amateur boxing competition, and then MMA competition, and then a youth MMA competition, and then a professional boxing competition.
Jeez.
All in town.
My goodness.
Starting December, going all the way to April.
So how many fighters you guys entering?
I don't know. Each one will be different,
So is it probably a handful for each thing?
Yeah.
That's intense.
So, yeah, that's taking up a lot of time, but it's
Heck
fun
yeah.
stuff, really cool.
Hardcore.
My kids are going to compete,
There you
so
go.
they're all getting ready.
So are they making you like sit there with a blindfold when they're the ones up there?
No, I'll be in their corner.
Oh, man, all right.
I'll tape. I'm the coach, so
Nice.
I don't get to be the normal parent.
You could be standing there going, come on, ref.
So I'm excited about today's topics and our guest host. As you mentioned, she has been a topic speaker for our conferences before.
I know Andy's spoken at our conferences
And
before.
I've known her for a while now. and let's just bring her on.
Let's pull her in.
I can't wait anymore. So we have on our show today Ann Clark, and she is a CSP and she's a fellow nurse. So we're
nurse.
We're gonna drown you.
I'm
With,
outnumbered by nurses today.
So Ann, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to join you on this IBC podcast.
Thank you.
Always enjoy listening and learning to the evil safety dude.
Yeah,
I like it.
So before we go any further, I ask this to most people that come on the show. Do you know why we call ourselves the evil safety dudes?
I have a feeling that those of us who are in the profession kind of get the viewpoint that people look at us as if we are the evil ones. We're the ones that are lurking in the shadows, like you said.
Lurking in the shadows.
Yeah, you know what we're talking
have
about.
Correct people. But hopefully through, the friendly banter and developing relationships with employees out there that, we're out there to be an advocate on your behalf as well, to look out for some safe behaviors and at-risk behaviors and call it to our attention, because everyone needs a little reminding and everyone needs a coach.
Well, I'm so glad you understand that, and most safety professionals do. We could be the nicest, coolest people in the world, but it's just how we're looked at.
Which we are.
Yeah.
We already are.
Because a lot of people that aren't in safety, they don't get it. They're like, evil? Aaron, I thought you were not evil. Well, no, I'm not. We're just going with what we're called. And most safety people, and they also say, that's the least bad thing I've been called as a safety professional.
Yeah. If evil's the worst word I'm called today, that's a win.
Have you ever been depicted as evil by employees you were just trying to help?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I have. I don't know the particular phrases that I've been referred to as, but I can guess. It's equivalent to, law enforcement. But again, we're just out there trying to identify risk and reduce the risk. So hopefully, over the years, some people's attitude or perception may mature, and hopefully they'll realize that we're just out there for safety's sake.
I mean, you hope.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So today we're talking about behavioral-based safety and ergonomics, and both cool subjects. Ergonomics is, neglected a lot, I feel maybe jobs do a pretty decent back safety course, maybe. But really getting into ergonomics as a whole, I think's lacking. And
right.
Let's try to paraphrase and botch a definition of ergonomics.
An intentionally botched definition of ergonomics, but
well,
it still has
just
to
paraphrase.
I was gonna say it still has to be true, but it can't be like their real definition. So you have to say ergonomics, the study of not breaking your legs.
Yeah, because there's people out there listening that may not know what ergonomics is. Yeah, it's not economics.
Right.
It's not. Are you sure?
We're not talking about money.
Workplace ergonomics is really the attempt to reduce that strain, fatigue, injuries by improving product design and workplace arrangements. And ergonomics is really all about designing for the people.
Right.
It's fitting a workplace to the user's needs, and ergonomics aims at increasing efficiency and productivity and reducing comfort. So it's fitting the job to the person, not the person to the job.
Yeah.
That's ergonomics in a nutshell.
That was too good.
That was a very good.
Yeah, I said we had to botch one, and she nailed it.
Yeah.
That was too good. Yeah.
She
Yeah, very well said. We have all heard the phrase "work smarter, not harder." That's what I think of when I think of ergonomics.
Yeah.
I think of some people think it's being lazy, making the job easier, but it's not. It's just making it more efficient and less traumatic to your body.
Absolutely, because over time you have these cumulative traumas, and cumulative is, adding up. Maybe you have an ache or a pain that just doesn't go away, and over a course of a couple weeks, now it's turned into a month. 6 months down the road, that ache has now turned into a consistent pain.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the types that could be averted way ahead of time by addressing perhaps just changing posture or speaking up and helping redesign a workplace. There's a lot of quick little cost-free solutions out there that is really, really exciting when you start talking about workplace ergonomics.
One of my favorite things in ergonomics, and just it's a weird fascination I have, and I love these things, is anti-fatigue mats. I remember one time.
You have a passion for anti-fatigue mats.
Because there's good ones and bad ones, but a really good one, when you step on it, you feel your back pain like ease.
You're like, ooh.
It's like, yeah, like that. Like one time I was at Walmart, and I'd been studying anti-fatigue mats for a while, and I'm looking at the cashier as she's standing on one, and I go, wow, that one looks good. Can I try it? She looked at me like a complete weirdo. She's like, sure.
Sure.
So she walked out, and I walked into her little register thing, and I stood on that mat, and it was so nice.
Nice.
And I'm like, man, I got to find out which model this is. I got to recommend these to clients,
Pretty soon you're like flipping the mat over. You're like taking pictures.
Checking it
of,
out.
the name
Yeah,
tag.
because they're awesome. Have you had any experience with anti-fatigue mats, like recommending them for certain jobs and stuff like that, Ann?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a great topic here, Aaron. The anti-fatigue mats really help with the lower leg and the back, becoming less fatigued, because it does offer that cushion from standing on a sustained posture, such as standing. So anytime there's a workstation, perhaps, that the person is there for more than a half hour or 20 minutes, and depending on what they're doing, you want to make sure that they're as comfortable as possible. The anti-fatigue mats, you always have a risk of them wearing out, especially if you're in a food grade or a food manufacturing facility. They're going to be exposed to harsh chemicals and stuff to keep the place clean. But fatigue mats really can be suited and sized for a person or a station where they're standing. And then if mats are not available, I highly, highly recommend the next best thing is to look at some arch supports or some comfort insoles. There's plenty on the market, to try as well to fit in your individual shoe, because ergonomics is personal as well.
Right.
Granted, the fatigue mat will help a variety of people if they're standing in that same position. But yeah, the mats are an excellent diversion to help reduce the risk of, leg fatigue, lower leg fatigue, and also your lower back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you brought up insoles. I also love insoles.
Yeah, not the outsoles.
Nah,
yeah.
What about the between
I stood on a little
sole?
Dr. Scholl thing in Walmart the other day just to verify, my insoles, they're kind of getting worn out. Maybe I should, reevaluate and see if I have the right type. And so there's wonderful little tools out there to evaluate, where are you feeling the pains and aches. Because not a lot of people, connect that how they're feeling across their body can really start with their feet too, right? So if you're standing, especially on hard surfaces at the job, or hey, let's face it, we all have a home life too, and if we're doing our hobbies such as woodworking or cooking, and we're standing for long periods of time, there's also an opportunity in the home to bring those solutions in as well. So get some of those floor mats as well.
Yeah, I got one in front of my stove.
You would.
And my sink.
You would.
Hey, when you're standing there for a long time chopping, yeah. So, ergonomic injuries, I think, are specific to trades, and us, being teachers. Like today, I was standing on cement for 4 hours.
Right.
And I could feel that in my back. And I got good shoes and I got good insoles, but like every trade, it takes a toll on a body.
Mm-hmm.
So let me bug you guys. Let's quiz the people. All right. So I'm gonna name a trade, and you guys name parts of the body you think it's gonna negatively affect over time. Okay.
Ooh. Okay.
All right. Let's start with residential roofers.
I'm going to say back, Aaron.
Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And back, and actually the back of the legs as well.
Yeah,
because
ankles.
You're in a sustained posture. And don't forget that, for those of us who sit quite a bit in our jobs, we're in a forward sustained posture as well. So when we identify those types of risks in that trade of being a roofer, a great risk reduction is to do some upward bend or, stand straight up and then do a slight backward bend every 20, 30 minutes.
Remember
because you don't want to be in an awkward posture for very long. So, yeah, the back. That's the biggest
definitely.
One there.
Yeah, I'd go with the back.
And let's go with another part of the body, too, I've noticed on the residential roofers, because of the slopes of most residential houses, is the angle of their ankles.
Oh, yeah.
Always being on that pitch.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, we never think about it like if
your calf muscle.
Yeah, if everybody...
Your calf muscle is completely extended. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, carpet layer.
You're just going heavy on the back today.
I agree back on that one, too, because they're on the ground.
But, I mean, their knees are going to get really torn up all the time.
Yeah, bursitis, always
Very
on their knees. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have you ever seen those guys stretch the carpet?
Mm-hmm.
Like kneeing that knee bar
Yeah.
thing? So you're on your knees, which we weren't designed to walk around on our knees. So you got, like, not all your body weight, but at least half your body weight on your knees. And then you take that same knee that's being, like, used incorrectly and then start kneeing something.
You're like bashing stuff with your knees, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
For sure.
All right. Let's go with just general construction worker.
General construction worker. I would have to say arms and back as well, because you're generally moving materials,
right?
And also, lifting.
Yeah.
So back safety, like you mentioned, that's a very prominent and thankfully a topic that is covered by the majority of companies now. But also, don't forget about arms. You can have tendonitis in the shoulders and in the elbows, gripping, because when we're using a hammer or any sort of tool, whether it be manual or an electronic tool, we have to grip it. There might be some vibration. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say both the upper arms and as well as the back.
Yeah, my construction guys are definitely my leading shoulder guys and my leading elbow guys. They have the most for those, for sure.
I got a buddy who's been a carpenter his whole life, and he has carpal tunnel in both hands.
Oof.
Like Ann was saying, just gripping that tool with that much power. And see, guys, like, we'll get made fun of on the job site if we have a small hammer. So the guys all get big hammers.
Right.
So they're not made, I can handle this whatever ounce. I'm a man.
Right.
So they got this oversized hammer, and they're swinging it repetitiously for years.
Right.
And now their elbow and their carpal tunnel is just out of whack, and they can't work anymore.
Right, and all that swinging and tool holding and hammering leads to like your tennis elbow style stuff. And
yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, well, let's switch gears. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about something a little different while we're just on the back issue, because that was kind of a recurring thing. Let's plug your guys' brains and see how many ways we could come up with moving material around in the general industry or construction and avoiding using our back and our arms for carrying. What do you guys got?
I use telekinesis to level or levitate things across a construction site.
Yep.
That's how I do it. It's not so much of a back strain, but I tell you what, I do got to take a couple Tylenol afterwards.
Which is, it's doable. You know? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
All right, Ann, you're up. Ways to save the back.
Some sort of lifting device would help.
Sorry.
And then also using
Oh, we lost you there.
Also using. There's something wrong?
Yeah, we got you back.
Just a little bit, but it's okay.
Okay. I would say using any sort of lift.
Okay, what kind of lift?
Good heavens.
What kind of lift you got?
Are you still there?
What kind of lift?
Yeah, what kind of lift
Yeah,
you
I'm
thinking?
here. I keep hearing something. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
An overhead hoist to move the material onto a dolly, and then use those wheels to move material.
100%. I see guys lifting heavy stuff, walking really far with it, and there's that equipment right there, not even being used.
Yeah.
What else? What do you got, AJ, for saving the back using tools?
Those two-wheel carts are nice. A lot of the construction jobs I keep seeing these same things. I don't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but it's literally just a little, it's just like a super oversized pry bar.
Okay.
It's got a couple wheels on the end of it. Nice big
I
hook.
know what you're talking about.
And you can just drive it under stuff and just move stuff and
That's
all the
pretty
time
cool.
instead of, bending over something just to like hoist it and move it 6 inches.
Right.
And you just jam that under there, pick it up. You can pivot it, roll it real quick, set it down. It's like a two-wheel cart, except it's got a different name, and it's, 4 or 5 feet longer.
That's cool.
But yeah, they're awesome. I see guys using that all the time lately, and I've been like, you know what? That's smart. You're saving your back.
Yeah. I see a lot of construction workers using the bucket of the skid loader.
It's a great way to make sure that you don't have to pick stuff up if you use the skid loader bucket.
I mean, they will just load that bucket. They'll have it by the trailer. They'll load it up with extension cords, tools, everything they need, and then they'll have the operator drive that all the way to the other end of the site.
Well, yeah, if you have a machine that can carry tons, it's not going to get tired.
Yeah, it was designed for it.
And you got to take it over there anyway.
It's a light load.
You might as well fill it up with stuff.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I also like carts.
Carts are super handy.
Yeah. But guys just don't want to do that stuff,
Well, why admit that you need help when you can just, grunt and pick it up yourself?
Yeah, and show how tough you are.
Oh, yeah.
All right, did we forget any others? Ann mentioned like hoists and gantry cranes and dollies.
Oh, the new guy. That's the other way I save my back.
Yeah,
I make the new guy
somebody
carry
else
stuff.
do it. But non-human related, skid loaders, carts.
I suppose the burro was
Yeah.
off the table.
Forklifts.
Can't put it on a donkey.
Yeah, I mean, and pallet jacks.
Yeah.
Put stuff on a pallet and then grab your pallet jack if it's general industry.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
So there's a lot of different ways. And if you wouldn't mind, I want to go into the brain for a second and talk about the psychology of, back injuries and, why people won't use all those devices. One more that I mentioned, it goes into this next segment, is I saw this company, they invested thousands and thousands of dollars buying their employees electronic lift tables. So the pallet goes on this table, and they could, with this control, raise the table up or down. So if the pallet is empty, they could raise it up so it's waist height. And as they load and that pallet's getting taller and taller, they lower it down so they're always at waist height. But then I seen the employees never use it.
Well, yeah, now they have to adjust it.
They never take the time to raise and lower it.
That's an extra 2 whole seconds.
You know,
I don't have time for 2 seconds.
and and so why are people not using these tools? And do you have any, ideas why?
Yeah, that's a great question. And here's some of the explanations I can think of. When people in the workplace, when employees are presented a solution that this is going to make your job easier, if they're not involved with the solution to begin with, sometimes there may be a hesitancy to buy into what the company's given them. Okay, so employee participation is huge when we're talking about an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that people are involved and it makes sense. So there might be perception that if I do use this tool, it might take longer to perform my task. and I want to make sure that I get X amount out in my production run.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of reasons why a person will choose or not choose to use some of these ergonomic solutions, and the best way to determine that is to actually ask them why. Why aren't you using it? And hopefully, if your culture is a safety culture where you can freely exchange information and get feedback and provide feedback to one another without any penalties, hopefully you'll get that feedback that says, it just doesn't work. It doesn't, do what you say it's going to do, but there's a lot of ideas that employees have that could improve their workplace. Those are some things that I think are barriers to why when some people may work at risk regarding ergonomics.
Definitely. Good points.
If you involve employees in the solutions, they will use the solutions.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. So if the employer, which might be a dicey relationship anyway with management and labor, if the employer is saying this is going to work and the people didn't come up with it or be a part of that solution, they may be hesitant to buy into it. But if they were the ones who said, hey, buy us this, then they're probably more likely to use that. So that's a great point. I see a lot of issues with men particularly as being pride. I
don't need no help.
I've witnessed young guys do very stupid things, like lift ridiculously heavy things that no one should ever lift alone, just to show that they can, to show that they deserve to be there with all the adult males, And
right.
And then I've seen the old guys do the same thing. I've seen them do stuff they should not be doing because they have to prove they could still do it.
Our human nature, isn't it great?
Yeah, and it's like, man, guys are doomed to bad backs forever.
Forevers.
I've also seen when somebody tries to do something correctly, like ask for help. Hey, could you help me lift this? That they get ridiculed for that, made fun of, and to avoid that again, then they don't ask anymore. That's kind of what you were alluding to earlier.
Best things I love seeing in different companies, when we are out shopping and we see maybe in a big box store where it says mandatory 2-person lift.
Oh, yeah.
It takes the ego out of that, and it forces employees to follow some written directions that, we know that it's safe if 2 people lift it versus just the one trying to manhandle it.
Right.
Yeah, I like those rules too. I worked at a company when I was a kid that had 70 pounds. Any box 70 pounds higher had a special label on it. And it was a mandatory 2-person lift. And if you were caught lifting that by yourself, you would get in trouble.
Oh, dang.
Today in my morning class, I was teaching, and we were talking about ergonomics. And this guy worked at a similar company for his other job. And he was saying, yeah, we have the same thing, but we're so short-staffed, we're allowed to lift those now by ourselves, and nobody says anything.
Oh, dear.
I was like, oh, man, that short staffing strikes again. Dun, dun, dun.
In ergonomics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and he was saying, yeah, we could lift up to 150 pounds.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about carpal tunnel for a second. When you guys hear the word carpal tunnel, what job comes to mind?
Well, for me, it's just the classic, the typist. That always gets me.
Yeah.
People who sit and maybe do data entry or fill out fields or stuff all day, and they just sit there and type.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Ann? What comes to mind when you hear carpal tunnel? Like what trade?
The manufacturing trade. So it could be a person on the line of, maybe working in a beef or pork facility using knives.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be somebody putting a box in a box. So it's that repetitive gripping and fingering type of task.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So I worked with a client that had a lot of cumulative trauma issues from that food manufacturing, packing millions of things into a box 8 hours a day. So, at first they tried job rotation. If we could get, 4 people to each do that job 2 hours of that shift, then we don't have one person doing it 8 hours a shift. Then the human body's only enduring that repetitive motion for 2 hours a shift. What do you think about that for a way to deal with cumulative trauma and ergonomic issues, job rotation?
Oh, yeah. Rotation is a great solution if you can't eliminate the risk altogether. That will, out of the 3 things that contribute to an ergonomic issue, force, frequency, and posture. So if you can manipulate that frequency, you're going to help reduce the risk of an ergonomic risk. So I worked in facilities as well where rather than performing the task, for an hour at a time, we actually rotated on a half hour.
Wow.
And then
nice.
there was usually a cool down spot every 5th rotation. So at least you had a pretty easy, job where you just had to every now and then infrequently touch the packaging. So yeah, job rotation is very critical as well. Again, attacking that frequency risk.
And now, this was years ago. Now I think at that same place, they just use robots.
There you go. And that takes it out, man.
Yeah.
That's another way to do it,
You have removed all 3 criteria.
Yep.
It is.
Yep. You could replace a robot part more than you could replace a wrist.
Pretty soon we're going to have to start doing robot ergonomics.
Yeah, so I had to do a
ergonomics.
job hazard analysis with this robot because at first they had to work alongside a human on the line.
Well, as we all know from the first law of robotics, a robot is not allowed to harm a human being through action or inaction.
Well, this one was programmed incorrectly.
Well,
because it chipped a girl's tooth.
That's a no-go for the first law of robotics.
Yes. So it was supposed to have all these safety features in every joint where just I forget the exact pounds, but at certain pounds of like pressure and resistance on the joint, the whole thing would just quit like a e-stop.
And just completely go in any direction. But somehow it still collided with a young girl strong enough to chip her tooth.
Yeah, so she bent down in the path of the robot. They called them synergistic robots because they worked with humans. And it did stop the robot, her getting her tooth hit by it, but it was enough force to chip it.
Yeah, at least it didn't keep going and just drive her teeth back into her face.
I mean, it's like a strong C-.
I mean,
for the robot.
I don't know.
I got hired to test it, so I was like, all right, you say it has all these safety features. Can I hit it? Can I get in a fight with it?
Right.
And, and so I kind of, I was scared. I got in the path of it, and I let it strategically in a certain part of my arm hit me. And yeah, it stopped, but I was like, yeah, it's kind of hard though.
Right.
I was like, it's probably safe, but I could see it eventually hurting somebody. You probably should guard it. And they're like, nah, the manufacturer says it's fine. Well, sure enough, chipped a tooth out a couple months later.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, physics are still at play. It's not like the actual physics stop.
Yeah.
You've still got mass and velocity happening there. It's going to apply force. Even if it stops, it's still going to apply force.
What do you think, Ann, about giving employees the leeway, the authority to kind of redesign their work areas to make it fit their body better? Do you think that should be something that employers are allowing employees to do within reason?
Oh, absolutely. To solicit their input is vital to the success of reducing risks out there. But, if you have an opportunity to be on a safety committee, that could be a topic, and people who are active on your committee member, as a committee member could take hold of that and help provide some education to the employees, because they may have some great ideas, but sometimes if we don't have resources out there, we may not know what we don't know. So by maybe using a consultant to provide some information or some industrial solutions, and then having your team members, the employees themselves, kind of redesigning the workplace. And if you have an engineering department, that'd be great to have them involved right up front. Know what material it would take, or cost, or downtime to redo it. But absolutely, I think that's a wonderful idea that pays dividends beyond what the employer would actually be spending for. And so if it could reduce the risk, you're just ultimately paying for itself.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So what kind of ergonomic tips can you give to someone like in an office work environment? Because ergonomics isn't just construction, general industry, it's for everybody. So you were mentioning that sedentary kind of work lifestyle earlier. What kind of tips can you give to somebody who sits in an office chair 8 hours a day?
Yeah. So a couple things come to mind. So if you're sitting in an office chair, making sure that you have a comfortable chair that is able to be conformed to your body, meaning it can be adjustable, the back support, the lumbar support, the height of the chair. Make sure that your feet fit so they're flat on the floor, and so that is a 90-degree angle for your legs. Try not to cross your legs when you're working. That helps reduce, that will, if you keep your legs uncrossed, that'll help with the flow of blood. Also, get up, every 20 minutes, every 40 minutes. Make sure to get up, stand, stretch, and then sit down. It doesn't take too long. Set your little timer. Get up, move around, walk around. Again, that'll help with the circulation, which helps reduce inflammation, which helps reduce injury. The other aspect, if you're sitting in a chair, you want to make sure that the desk or the surface that you're working on is acceptable. So you don't want your shoulders to be shrugged high. Sometimes if your workstation is too high, that brings your shoulders up. That can cause discomfort around your neck. That is not a good feeling. So adjust everything so it's at the right height. There's oodles of information online to get the specifics, but look for that.
I don't know when the
And
last
then
time I was
finally,
told to find oodles.
I would really address the awkward position of your head and neck when we're trying to see. So it's where the monitor is. Use a monitor at the right height. You want to look straight at it. You don't want to have to be looking up or down. And then you want to make sure that you have good lighting in the area. So those are the three highlights for somebody who's working at a desk.
Awesome. Good tips, because I know
all good.
Every now and then when I get an office day, because I'm not used to it and I'm sitting for long periods of time, that you could feel it taking its toll on you. What do you think about all that new standing desk type stuff?
I love
like
it.
them.
I personally bought a desk that can go up and down, and my husband made me a top, and I have my monitors mounted to it, and I have to remember and remind myself, hey, today I should be standing. I've been sitting for quite a while. I think that opportunity to choose, what your body is feeling, and adjust to it. I think that the standing desks are great.
Yeah, they're
What do
pretty
you guys
cool.
think?
I like them. I like them a lot.
I haven't tried one.
Yeah.
I stand and teach all the time, so I kind of enjoy my sitting down time.
Get
But
like that extra minute.
Yeah, but then when I do have a sit down day, I could definitely see it'd be nice if I stood a little bit, because they say that sitting is the new smoking. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Right.
I want to save some time for our next topic on behavioral-based safety. But before we go to that,
Oh man, yeah.
do you guys got any final closing tips that we should bring to the audience on ergonomics? Let's talk about ergonomic evaluations. Like, how can we assess if our employees are doing some bad ergonomics?
Well, there are quite a few few checklists out there. I was on the internet. Most of them have some risk factors that you can physically go out and look for. Looking at a job being performed by an employee and looking at their risk. Are they having any risk deviation? Are their elbows out? Are their shoulders too high? Are they reaching above their heads? Are they bending over? Are they kneeling to do their work? Do they have vibration? Are they contacting a blunt or a cold surface? Are they forcing and things that aren't too mobile, where they're moving it by hand? And then are they pushing or pulling things? So there's a lot of assessment tools that are readily available for somebody who would like to pull those down and start using. And when you find some of these awkward postures, those are risk factors that will kind of help you pinpoint certain areas on maybe you should start doing some brainstorming on how to reduce that risk. So if you have a elbows out type of a job where your elbows are out like wings, your workstation may be too high, or you may have the wrong type of tool.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the solutions that could help eliminate that in particular behavior that you might address in an ergonomic checklist or an assessment.
AJ and I were joking in the intro how paid stalker, because I've been hired to do those, and I always feel weird.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm just kind of hanging out on the floor, and I'm just kind of staring at someone for a
While they do their
long
work.
time.
But I tell you, you can learn so much by looking, and you have to train. For those of us who've been in safety and health, worked constantly performing hazard assessments.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're new to that, give yourself a break. It is worthy time that you are spending, and you're particularly looking for certain behaviors.
Right.
Behavior is just an observable act where you're looking for what that body is going through. And again, never forget, ask the employee directly, if we could make your job easier, what would it be and how should we do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of, it's caught in between. Normally I tell them now, like, hi, I'm Aaron. I'm here to do an ergonomic evaluation on your job. Don't mind me. I'll just be over here staring at you. But I find when I do tell them that, if I was watching them first, after I told them what I'm doing, then they work differently.
Right. Well, yeah, now they know they're under the microscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they're going to raise their table
Yeah,
up.
they're like,
Now they're
"Oh,
going to
I'm
bend with their legs. Now they're not going to reach over the line. They're
Right.
going to walk around. And it's like,
It's almost worth it to let them get a little paranoid for a while.
yeah, just like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah. And then when you start, like, taking pictures of
You-
them, then they're
Correct.
like,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, let's jump into behavioral-based safety. Now,
Yeah, you may have to observe several times in different ways, but never give the perception that you're there sneaking and peeking as far as getting anybody in trouble, because that'll lose your audience as quickly as anything, right?
yeah, for sure. You got to build up that trust and that rapport.
Yes.
And that kind of goes into behavioral-based safety. A lot of our audience may know what that is, BBS, behavioral-based safety. Some folks may not, or maybe just haven't heard it in a while. It was super popular, 15 years ago. And I think it's it's not the new buzz thing anymore. It's not the new buzz silver bullet in safety, but it's still being widely used. So let's try to, explain what behavioral-based safety is for those that may not be too familiar with it.
Okay. Yeah, behavior-based safety is really a process that informs management and employees of the overall safety of a workplace through safety observations. And behavior-based safety is really intended to focus on the workers' attention on their own and on their peers' daily safety behavior. And the goal of any behavior-based safety process is to improve the employee safety of the organization. There are many companies who can become your consultant to help you lead your organization in the behavior-based safety process. I myself have been a part of organizations who utilize those extra tools 10, 12, 15 years ago to bring a behavior-based safety process into existence. And also, I've been a part of organizations who organically built processes focused to ensure, that their safety contact focused on safe behaviors. So the intentional communication, the intentional looking for certain behaviors out there and communicating right away to what we see to that person can really help change people's perspective on whether or not they work at risk or if they're going to work safely. So, yeah, behavior-based safety, it definitely was popular. I've noticed that when in certain regions of different companies, there's some that still have a very structured behavior-based safety and have had a lot of success over the years. But just like any other program that has a beginning and it has an end, unfortunately, those who don't keep up on safety contact or some sort of observation process are seeing kind of a recurrence in the different accidents associated with certain behaviors.
I mean, it makes sense. The whole idea behind behavior-based safety, right, is monitoring and being a part of the behavior of safety. And then if you just drop it and you're like, oh, well, we don't really care if anybody actually behaves safely, it's probably not going to work.
So, Ann, if I got a job at a company that used a behavior-based safety program, and they said, Aaron, I want you to go take a behavior-based safety course, would you have any recommendations on where I could get BBS training?
I just, before I got on with you, I kind of did a DuckDuckGo kind of a search, and, there's what used to be called BST. I know that that's a good name, but I think they changed their name now. But there are some reputable ones out there. I don't have any off the top of my head. I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, that's kind of the point. It's like, it's kind of hard to find that. Like if you...
Yeah, where do you go for help?
Right.
Yeah, if you look at all the places...
You can go have, some of your employees go get trained the trainer and then bring that back to your organization and implement it there. But I also know there's probably a person or two on your previous podcast who have some experience, rolling out and implementing behavior-based safety processes to their organizations at one time or another.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sure there's some resources around Siouxland that could help anybody who's interested, and I would be one of those as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why we developed a course. It's not a big demand for it anymore, but I've had safety professional in that exact situation. Call me up. Aaron, I got a job. We do BBS. I don't even know the first thing about it. Help. And I'm like, okay.
All right, let's do this.
Let's put together a course
Awesome.
and launch it. But, I think, knowing the philosophy is important, to know what this should look like, why it was invented, the goal of it. But then I think just knowing how to implement whatever program your company chose, because this person's like, what do? I get all these cards every day. What do I do with them? I ask my boss and they don't know. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. We have to go and see what program you're on. You might be supposed to be.
And for some of your listeners who may not be familiar with it, many times your behavior-based safety process will be driven by a checklist. Yes, we love checklists, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a safety professional, that's what our lives revolve around sometimes, I think. But these checklists contain all the behaviors that we could be looking at. And these checklists are different because depending on your organization, let's say you operate a fleet vehicle, you might develop a behavior-based safety checklist that are common to drivers such as doing a pre-trip inspection or seat belts or signals.
Sure.
Then there's also checklists, for manufacturing or office environment. They can be tailored, right? So these checklists are a way to document that you did the assessment, and then that little card, we can then measure how safe we are by putting it into a score sheet and having a score at the end of the day to see how safe we are. But like you said, Aaron, with a behavior-based safety process, there is some psychological nuances about it because we don't know why people do what they do until we ask them.
I'm sure most of them don't know why they do what they
To sustain
do.
a behavior-based safety process is to, devote upper management commitment, supervisors, employees, janitorial, whomever, all levels. I've seen the most successful behavior-based safety processes where all employees are involved, not just supervisors watching employees, because that's me. I think that it doesn't have the benefit that does if you embrace it as an all-employee process.
I like the programs that have been properly implemented where workers are genuinely randomly observing other coworkers and then honestly writing that stuff down on the observation cards. Because to me, as the safety person, I may do a walkthrough once an hour, but I'm not seeing the reality. They see me coming a mile away. I've been on the big sites where as soon as I walk in the room, I hear click, 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 all the little snap hooks tying off.
Right.
They weren't tied off until I walked into the room. So when you get that like honest feedback from peers on each other, I think that is super valuable information. It's total boots on the ground realness when it's implemented appropriately and people are honestly, documenting the behaviors. And then I've seen them go completely bad where everyone's just pencil whipping the cards, not even really putting any thought into them, and then it's just kind of a complete waste of time. What's been your experience, good and bad, with behavioral-based safety programs?
Oh, exactly what you've said. If you don't have management commitment up front and it's not rolled out as being transparent, then, people are very leery of having other people watch them. And you have to have that dialogue and a thorough understanding and everybody knowing what the expectations are up front so that it's not, oh, you're evaluating me. You might be wanting to eliminate my job. There's a lot of thoughts that go through the heads of our employees, including ourselves, if we were to be watched. So as safety professionals, I've seen the good where it's rolled out, where everybody's trained, and then the expectation is that everybody does observations on everyone. It doesn't matter what title you hold. The bad is, it's maybe there's been some programs that I'm aware of that just only certain groups of the company were participating in it, and they were giving bonuses to them for performing these observations. So the more behaviors they found, the higher their reward was. It was a monetary reward back in the day. So I definitely agree with what you've said, Aaron. When it's rolled out properly, it's a really good communication tool to address behavior. But when it's not, it has detrimental effects until the culture is changed back.
I remember when it first started getting really popular, safety professionals were worried that it would replace them. They're like, oh, man, if everybody's safety now, they're going to can me, and I remember there was a lot of kind of worry about that because when that was one of the sales pitches was one of the philosophy points that always got communicated was traditional safety is somebody who's responsible for the safety of the company. In behavioral-based safety, we're going to take that responsibility of safety and give it to everybody. Everybody is going to have safety responsibility now. And so, that sounded great. Yeah, everybody be responsible for safety. Maybe we'll become safe. But then safety people said, well, then what am I going to do?
Right. Where's my job go?
But, they ended up still running the programs and facilitating it. And I don't know anybody that ever lost a safety job because the company adopted behavioral-based safety. But I remember it being a worry, of job replacement.
Yes. Yep.
Well, finally, you'd be able to start, compiling your SDS list and writing all your lockout tagout
Yeah,
procedures.
there's still a million other things to
doing
do.
all your JHAs.
yeah, those observation cards
Finally get those ergonomic evaluations done.
Yeah. I remember this one company that was doing it, and they had this program that they had to buy to run it. It was about a $10,000 program, but it was cool when they were actually implementing the program as designed, when all the cards were being turned in, the injury rates were going down, and when the cards weren't coming in, the injury rates were going up. You could see that through the software. And so, that kind of sold me on it, a little bit like, wow, this is actually working to reduce injuries.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where the rubber meets the road is how wonderful is it to have peer-to-peer conversation about your safety? If I'm standing on a desk chair that has wheels on it and I'm trying to change a light bulb, and my coworker Aaron says, "Hey, Ann, stop. I'm concerned that you're going to fall because that chair has wheels." How wonderful is that to be able to freely come up to somebody in your workplace and talk to them because of out of concern. I don't think too much. I know that there's companies that have achieved that, and it just really is an awesome way to help improve the culture, communication, and then just feedback on a peer-to-peer level. That's really where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, I agree. I always thought one of the most important roles in safety was middle management, foremen, line supervisors. Instead of the safety person
Agreed.
walking through, catching people, correcting people, if the actual direct supervisor who was there with them was bringing up safety, I thought that's the most effective way to get this actually implemented. And behavioral-based safety had that component to it, just like you were saying, where everybody's talking about themselves. Like they have to, like in some of those programs, you have to turn in your card. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got about 2 minutes left, and any final thoughts on behavioral-based safety? Like, and if you were hired to sell this to a company, like if your job was to get them to implement it, what would you kind of tell them about it, like to make them want to get on board with behavioral-based safety?
I would have to say that although OSHA does not specifically require an organization to implement a behavior-based safety process, OSHA does recommend practices for safety and health programs that include the involvement of employees, of managers, of middle managers in safety and hazard identification. And having a strong behavior-based safety process really assists organizations can achieve those safety goals by allowing multiple opportunities for employees and managers to be involved in the safety process, assist in assessing and identifying hazards. Because if we work around the hazards unknowingly, shame on us. So I would bring it to light as far as selling it, that it does have many, many years of valid data to support that if you have an active, well rolled out behavior-based safety process, that you will be able to see your incidents decrease, because that's simply identifying risk and being able to go out and communicate with one another and help your safety culture.
Awesome. Well said. Well, we super enjoyed you and are very thankful that you decided to come on our podcast. And we are today the evil safety dudes and dudettes, because we have a fellow.
She gets it. She knows what's up.
Oh, it's been terrific. Thank you.
All right. Well, for Mr. AJ Hanscom and myself, Aaron Icino, together we are the
Evil Safety Dudes.
Until next time, everybody, stay safe.